Well, good morning, deck daddies and deck mommies. Today, I'm going to tell you a little story. Before we get into it, I spent the whole weekend PC gaming. I'm borrowing a laptop, a gaming laptop, the Zephyrus G14. It's a year old. I'm borrowing it from a buddy, and it's going to hold me over until my PC gets here. I don't have one on order, but I figured that in the next couple of months I'll have one, so I figured, hey, time to get used to everything. I also have like a portable PC, or not portable PC, a little mini PC guy that is made by Geekom, and that's going to be my streaming PC. So I'm trying to have a streaming PC and a gaming PC and trying to get everything nice and going. There's a whole shift going on right now, and don't worry, I'll bring you along for the ride. Oh, so bad, not good. Just spilled water everywhere. But that being said, today I want to talk about something that's a little bit outside of gaming. It's actually shaped who I am as a dad, and I had lost sight of it over these past few years. April 6th, 2019, myself as well as four other people got together one morning to go on a motorcycle ride that ended horrifically just hours after we got together. When I say horrifically, I mean the worst it could have gone without people actually dying. And so this past Friday, was it really 2019? Holy cow. Because then it would be 2020, 2021, 2022, 23, 24. Yeah, this past, not Friday, Saturday, was the 5-year anniversary of that very accident. And so let me bring you up to what happened. So we get together early in the morning. We all met at my house. Now, I had purchased my first ever Harley Davidson Iron 883. It was my first ever motorcycle. I wanted a Harley Davidson. It was very important that I got a Harley, and I did. It was such a great bike. I had it for probably 2 months before that bike ride. No issues, no problems. A couple people cut me off on the freeway, but honestly, never had any sort of run-ins with danger until April 6th, 2019. Now, we all loaded up. Myself, my buddy Miles, Austin, Zach, and AJ. We got on our motorcycles, all of us ecstatic for the ride ahead. We were going to go to a bunch of coffee shops along PCH, Pacific Coast Highway, which is a highway that is next to the ocean. So we're going to look out the ocean on one side, and we are going to ride on our motorcycles across the California coast. It was going to be great. It was a morning that we had all been looking forward to, and we had planned it. My buddy Miles had just gotten back from his honeymoon, I think days earlier. So it was a really, really exciting time for all of us, or so we thought. We get on the freeway. We're having a freaking blast, just being silly and goofy, riding with each other, looking at each other. All of us excited. My buddy Austin, he had just purchased his first road motorcycle. I forgot exactly what it was. My buddy AJ had been riding for a while, giant Harley. My buddy Zach, he had, I believe it was a Honda. It doesn't really matter. We were all having fun. We're all staggered up, being safe, but having a blast. And we get to our first coffee shop. It was Bear Coast. Bear Coast, the coffee shop that you guys have seen plenty of time here. They only had one location at the time in San Clemente. And we load up we park, we get all of our motorcycles together, and it's the morning time. We all feel so cool. 5 dudes on motorcycles, having a blast, getting coffee, just loving life. All of us love the Lord. We were talking about God. It was such a beautiful morning. And so we get our breakfast burritos, and we have our coffees, and we're chatting and having a good time, and we look at each other like, all right, well, it's time to go on to the next coffee shop, which was going to be about 20 miles down PCH. We were going from San Clemente all the way down to Newport. Maybe it was a little bit less, doesn't matter. We were going to be able to ride PCH a Saturday morning around, it was 10:30 at this point, having a good time, and just cruise through beautiful coast, and it was going to be rad. So we load up, everything's good to go, we're feeling good, helmets on, everything's locked and loaded, and we start to make our way through some of the neighborhoods you have to go through to get down to PCH, which I wasn't leading the pack because I'm terrible when it comes to directions. Even though I live here, I still don't know. And on a motorcycle, I'm already trying to make sure I'm paying attention to all the different things that I have to do. So I'm not. Have my music in my helmet and everything's having a good old time. And we get to our stoplight on PCH. We're there. And for some reason, we're not splitting lanes. Now, for those of you who don't know what splitting lanes is when you see a motorcycle in between cars, in between lanes. It allows you to get all the way up to the light so that when the light turns green, you can get through and you're the first one off the line. And arguably, in our case, it would have been, it's safer because you are away from the side of the road, right? You're in between two giant pieces of metal, cars. Now, let me paint the picture for you. We're at a three-way stop. It was a three-way stop. 2 lanes were going this way, 2 lanes were going this way, and one was coming down a hill this way. PCH is this nice long road here. We were about 5 or 6 cars back, lined up, 5 of us, 1, 2, staggered up, having a grand old time. And so we were going this way, and there's other cars coming this way, and then, of course, this right. This is green, and cars are coming this way. And all of a sudden, we're stopped, exposed on the left-hand side. All of a sudden, everything goes black. What happened? Well, turns out what had happened was a drunk driver had sped at about 45 miles an hour, barreling through, hit another car on their side, and launched that car into us diagonally. And 3 out of the 5 of us got hit almost head on by I forgot what car it was. I was told, certainly don't remember. We were hit head on at about 40 to 45 miles an hour. I think it was closer to 40. Let's just say it was 40. Either way, you don't want to be hit when you're at a dead stop at 40 miles an hour. I can tell you from firsthand experience, it doesn't go well. So, who got hit? 3 of us, Austin, Miles, and myself. Austin, very wisely, was not listening to music, and so he was hyper aware of all of his surroundings. So much so that he saw the car coming towards him and tried to jump off his motorcycle, which was a good idea because his motorcycle got destroyed, like multiple pieces destroyed. He got clipped, his leg got clipped, and he jumped up in the air, his leg got hit, and he spun around and fell on the ground. He was fully capable. He stood up, walked for a second. I remember snippets, and then he sat down and just sat there. What had gone through his head is as he started walking, he felt that his leg was very unstable. Of course, you don't feel any pain at that point. There's so much adrenaline going through your system. And so he sat down and was like, we need to maybe do a quick check because I just got hit by a car. He, in that moment, had torn his ACL. He had to get surgery. He got surgery, went through recovery, and we got together on Saturday, and I was like, yeah, you have a hamstring injury. And we were talking about CrossFit stuff because he does CrossFit now. And he's like, oh, yeah, I forgot that they took part of my hamstring to rebuild my ACL. Right? That's how great his recovery has been. And it was awesome. It was beautiful. I'm sure he still deals with stuff and lingering stuff. We all had a lot of PTSD from that. My buddy Miles didn't have the same fate. In fact, he took so much of the brunt of the car that he went over the car. So he bounced off the hood and then the actual roof, and then hit again the back of the car and then slammed on the ground. And it was a rag doll, apparently. I saw the footage. I'm not going to show you guys the footage. We have the security, or the cam, the footage from the intersection. Not important for you guys to see it. It's something I've seen twice, and I don't like watching it. And so he was on the ground, and then I got hit and pushed. So the car hit me, pinned me against my bike, and pushed me all the way against the barrier, which was about 10 to 15 feet away. Now, some of this is real memory, and some of this was told to me by a couple whom I forgot their name, did meet them. They ended up coming to Miles's birthday party years later, or a memory or something, I don't remember perfectly, of us getting together and like memorializing this specific moment. We got to meet them face to face. They saw the accident and then proceeded to stay with us until all of us went to the hospital and prayed over us. It was a crazy thing. And they stopped immediately and helped us the whole time. The woman who hit us, drunk driver who is now incarcerated, she hit us and then ran. Her car didn't go far because the front left wheel was destroyed. And she was caught by a bystander who pulled off the line, made an illegal U-turn, and proceeded to try to chase her down. Caught her, and she was, good to go. It was unfortunate because the whole legal battle and all the stuff that ended up happening amounted to almost nothing. The insurance companies got to wash their hands of it because she had just enough coverage to cancel out any sort of deductibles or any sort of financial compensations that we could have gotten. The hospitals were able to do the same, and just about every single insurance company did absolutely and utterly the bare minimum to pay what needed to get paid, and there was a substantial amount of debt that was accrued by every person who was a part of this. Oh wow, this is great. Because it could have potentially financially set some of us up to recover, and it didn't. But that is part of the story. But I skipped someone. I skipped myself. What happened to me? Well, I got pinned against the barrier, and the first thing that happened was I got up, I took off my helmet, I took off my jacket, and I was calling my wife to tell her, don't worry, I got in a car accident. I don't know what happened to Miles. Never told her. She thought he was dead. And I called her like 4 or 5 times over and over again because I was so concussed that I had forgotten that I had called her. So I just kept calling her over and over and over again. My buddy had to basically take my phone away, which wasn't damaged, by the way. None of my technology was damaged. I was wearing a Chrome bag that had a camera in it. Don't know how this happened. Anyway, so after that, I remember walking over to see my buddy Miles laying on the floor. He wasn't moving. He was completely still. And the moment I got to him, I look, and he has his helmet, the helmet mask part had been blown off. The actual helmet itself was still intact. And the second I get to him, I see him, and I'm like, oh no, my best friend's dead. And I thought he was. And so that emotion set in and didn't go away for a long time, except he wasn't dead. He had a severe brain injury. He got knocked out snoring. And so if any of you guys know anything about severe brain injuries, whenever someone gets hit hard enough that they're out and they're snoring, that's not a good sign. That's like a really bad sign. That means that the brain is like super mush. And so at that point, he started to try to get up. And because his brain was so damaged in the initial shock of it all, and there was so much swelling, it unlocked an amount of strength that humans don't normally have. We have kind of limited strength to keep us from hurting ourselves, like squeezing your fists so hard that you break your fingers. We're capable of doing that if we try hard enough. And sometimes people on PCP do actually do that because they are able to unlock additional strength and push past what the body says. Nope, you can't go anymore because you're going to hurt yourself, right? We hear about moms who lift cars and stuff like that to save their children, stuff like that. Well, he in that crazy moment was trying to take his helmet off and had to be forced down to stop because we had no clue what kind of damage had happened to him, which was pretty severe. And so I still wasn't able to detach the thought, and I was so concussed that I proceeded to think that he was dead for like a while after that because my brain didn't quite work the proper way. And so that was the thing that I remember seeing, along with a moment when I was leaning up against the back or the barrier, and I looked down and my pants were all messed up and there was a lot of blood. And I was like, I don't want to figure out what that's all about. And so I didn't until I was at the hospital. What happened to me was I had torn both my hamstrings, and I also had something called internal degloving. Sounds pretty gross. I don't know if you remember when Jimmy Fallon had an issue with his ring finger and he degloved his finger. It's exactly the way that it sounds. It's when all of this skin gets detached from the fascia or from the muscle tissue, and you're left with just what's underneath the skin, flesh. They repaired his finger, sort of. But I had something called internal degloving, which is not normal and was healed miraculously over time, and also the most excruciating pain that I've ever felt in my entire life. Essentially what ended up happening was I got hit and pinned and the skin and muscle tore. So all the skin on my left quad tore off the muscle, but the skin didn't break. So instead of it tearing off and flapping in the wind, it essentially made a pocket which plasma and water and the body trying to heal itself, along with internal bleeding, filled up. So my leg essentially inflated in size. It was massive and filled with all this fluid, and if I shook my leg, it would keep going. The problem is, it's still attached at a certain point, and so the weight of that was actually slowly trying to rip more skin off the muscle, and I still had nerves that were attached to the skin that was there. The skin that wasn't attached, I didn't have any sort of nerves attached to that, but there was all of the loose-ended nerves that were above it. And so that was unbelievably excruciating. I had wrapped it so that the liquid would stay in place, but it was so bad that walking was absolutely uncomfortable. I had to very slowly walk, and along with all of the other things, like the actually blunt force that happened when the car hit us, we had neck and all that stuff, I was pretty immobilized for a couple of months. In that immobilized nature, I picked up Fortnite and started playing Fortnite, and it actually was the inception of my severe and extreme love for video games all over again. A lot of that was because I was able to communicate and play video games with my friend AJ, who was also in the accident, my other two friends, who were able to, in the just inches between them and the car, jump off and avoid being hit by the car itself. They, by the grace of God, weren't hit, and I got to play video games through that. I was in that healing process, dealing with such immense pain, but I was able to still participate and interact with people that were not near me. And video games in this got me through a lot of it. Playing my Nintendo Switch, playing Fortnite on the Nintendo Switch itself, that's all I had. It was such a beautiful time for me to just recover mentally, and video games got me through a tremendous amount of it. My wife, of course, extremely supportive and so helpful. We didn't have children at the time. She'd go off to work, come home, take care of me. It was very, very incredible. And through all of that, the recovery process was tough. A lot of mental stuff, a lot of different things there. I had a pretty severe concussion, and that still has lingering effects to this day that I'm learning to live with, along with a lot of other injuries that didn't really present themselves till years later. And that's because I take care of myself. I eat very well and I exercise a lot. So much so that my body took the blunt force of a car, all of us did, and was able to recover from it structurally. I have lower back issues, I have shoulder issues, and I have some pretty severe nerve pain in my left leg on a regular basis, as well as some hip issues. But all of those could have been exponentially worse, and actually in most cases crippling if it wasn't for multiple things. One, by the grace of God, I was saved through this. We were all protected. I think that some of it was supernatural protection, but I also think a lot of it was His grace in it, but also His way of guiding us up until that point, right? I am a fitness fanatic and I take care of my body, so it could take that force, right? And stuff like that. And I don't believe that's because of my doing. I believe that's because of the encouragement and the motivation that I have that was, given by God. In that accident, I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I was a very selfish person. I learned that I was self-serving, and I couldn't do any of that once I was immobilized. I learned that, wow, I need to rely on so many other people to just get through life. My wife taught me a lot through that and her selflessness, and that was pretty special. I also was given something that I don't think is something that a lot of people should actually have, because it's pretty terrible the way you get this. But when you have a true near-death experience, not like I almost drove off a cliff, but like I should be dead because of this thing that happened to me, it changes you as a human. It can change you into a bad human. It can change you into a good human. And unfortunately, over these past few years, I had lost sight of what it truly meant. I lost sight of what it truly meant to be able to say that I'm still here. And on Saturday, April 6th, 2024, I, as well as Austin and Miles, went back to that spot. We looked at it, we prayed multiple times, and we remembered the feelings we had. We had some pretty dark things happen to us. My buddy Miles, tremendous journey he had to get through. My best friend, who I grew up with, I've known him since I was 11. I watched a man get reduced to a boy and had to relearn how to walk, talk, and just function again. His brain didn't work for months after, 6 to 8 months after. Light would disorient him. Too many people talking would shut him down. His brain, it took years actually to recover from it. If you met him today, you would never know, because of this just supernatural healing that has taken place. And in fact, he has a YouTube channel that I edited for just up until April 1st. He was my client. There's a hair on here. You can check it out, Miles Per Hour. He does YouTube full time, 600,000 subscribers. Incredible dedication. And he has a wonderful channel there. And in that moment on Saturday, I was overwhelmed by a lot of emotions. I thought a lot about what's happening here. I thought, what kind of message am I trying to send in this? And is it in the same vein, or is there the perspective that I've been granted through this treacherous and beautiful experience? I thought, some of it is and some of it isn't. One of the biggest lessons I learned from any of it was, of course, the very, very lesson that a lot of people say in these, which is life is very precious and it can end at any moment. Sure, we were on motorcycles, so we were kind of towing the line there, but it really was an absurd circumstance. So much so that every single person, from insurance adjuster to motorcycle shop to hospital, never would have predicted that the very situation that we were in would have happened. Stopped at a stoplight, and then it happens. Usually you hear about it on a highway or at a crossing an intersection, but stopped, lined up safely, just like it's been put in the books. It seemed absurd. And for me, it was very absurd. But the biggest lesson I learned from it was there's so much more that you are granted after you have everything taken away from you. Light is brighter, colors are more vibrant, and experiences are more valuable. I think it's a perspective that I have that I don't communicate or articulate well, because it's tough through the camera. And maybe some of it seems confusing, and maybe some of the jumping around seems confusing in this space, but a lot of it is because I have this feeling inside of me of, don't you see? It's so much greater, it's so much better. And I get caught up in some of this consumerism, and I'm like, it's so worthless in comparison to everything else. But that's a perspective that I have, because really everything is worthless. Everything when it comes to life, except for the relationships you have. Those are the valuable ones. Because this can be taken and you won't be remembered, but your parents, your friends, your spouse, your children, they will remember you. And if you're taken from them, that is so much more valuable than the Steam Deck, the PlayStation 5, or a GTX 4090. None of that really matters in the grand scheme of things. And I know that that's a weird thing to say, and you're probably asking, well, what does this all mean? Oh, also, this rock right here was from the very, very spot that we got hit. I grabbed it on Saturday because I want to be able to hold it and remember that God was there, physically there. That's something that I've lost sight of, is His presence. And so this rock reminds me. Nothing inherently changes. I will say that this space has become so special and cherished to me, and I love sharing things with you guys. And I want to continue to do it, but also because it provides more time with me and my family. And my dedication to what's happening here is simple. Dedicated to making meaningful videos around something I'm passionate about because I still get to be passionate about it. I think really that's what it comes down to. I'm here to take care of my family and be a part of that. I don't do it perfectly by any means, but I still get to enjoy these things. And it's good to enjoy and to cherish and to love and to get excited about stuff as trivial as video games at times. Yes, I said it, trivial. This hobby is special to me and I get to still do it. And so this whole long-winded story is to give you a peer into a little bit of craziness that is me and tell a story that I think formed who I am, but also to share that it's okay to be, passionate about things as long as it's not obsessive. I know that seems like a weird thing to say, but understanding its hierarchy in things. I'm very passionate and excited about video games as a whole. It's the very thing that brought me back down to earth when I was in this crazy hell, or up to earth. But I also understand that it's a thing that is just a thing, and my family is really what's important, and the relationships I have there. So, thanks for listening. I know this is a weird one. Schedule's going to shift a little bit, and I'll share more about that on Discord, not on here, because stuff's always shifting. So if you want to be a part of the Discord, it's a private Discord. You got to become a dad. It's simple. Just join $4.99, and we'll get into it. Join us on live streams. Again, everything is in Discord, and enjoy the rest of your day. And as always, happy gaming.